Our musical welcome today is a dance video performed by the Natananhali Dance School of Bethesda, Maryland. This Tilana is a dance in praise of Krishna, who is asked to come down, sing and dance with the dancers, and delight their souls. Please enjoy.
Tilana is a nritta dance which lays emphasis primarily on the rhythmic aspect of Bharatanatyam. And towards the end of the song, there is usually a lyric in praise of a god or a goddess. In this case, it is in praise of Krishna, where the gopis or the milkmaids of Vrindavan say, "O Krishna, we worship you with all our hearts. Will you not show compassion and come down and sing and dance with us and delight our souls?"
கண்ணா உன்னை நானே துதித்தேனே மனமிறங்கி அருள்வாய் கண்ணா உன்னை நானே துதித்தேனே மனமிறங்கி அருள்வாய் வந்து நீ ஆடி பாடி விளையாடி உறவாடி என்னை காத்திடுவாய் வந்து நீ ஆடி பாடி விளையாடி.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday morning Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende regular Sunday service. We are delighted that you have chosen to spend your Sunday morning with us. I am Gary Belkin, a member of the Sunday Service Committee, and I will be your service leader today. If this is your first visit, we look forward to getting to know one another and look forward to seeing you at future services. Regardless of your religion, religious tradition, or lack of one, your race, your culture, your gender identity, or your sexual orientation, you are all welcome here. We invite you to bring your questioning mind and your expansive heart to share in fellowship, reflection, and great music. And now we go to Dan.
Good morning, I'm Dan Newspiel, President of your Board of Directors, and I add my welcome to all of you joining us today, wherever you are. We invite you to look in today's order of service for announcements of activities and membership information. The same information appears in our weekly newsletter, along with interesting articles about our busy fellowship. If you're not already on our mailing list, please send a note to Denise at the address in the chat box, and we'll add you to the list. You may also be interested in joining our Google listserv and visiting our website. Also, our YouTube channel has videos of our services that you can share with friends and family. Our breakout discussions after the service are great places to reflect on this service with old and new friends. Just stay connected after the music, after it ends, and you'll be randomly assigned to a room. If only one or two people show up in your room, sit tight for a minute, and I'll move you to a larger group. Near the end of the service, we'll post a question to kick off your discussion. If you're a new visitor, we invite you to briefly delay accepting your breakout room assignment so our minister, Tom Rossiello, can chat with you for a few minutes in our main room. And now a few thoughts from the COVID-19 task force, a group of health professionals and care team members with expertise we hope will be helpful during this pandemic. Many of you have read this week that the COVID-19 SMA team is promoting the idea of having a doctor, someone who knows your medical history and will respond to you in an emergency. This is one of the keys to being well prepared, just in case COVID actually finds its way into your home. And as we head into the most dangerous stretch of the epidemic, being prepared is more important now than ever. Just imagine this for a minute. Say I live alone and I wake up one morning with a cough, feeling exhausted and achy all over. And I wonder if I have a fever. What should I do next? Do I have a thermometer? Does it still work? Do I have Tylenol or ibuprofen on hand? Cough lozenges? I don't feel like going out to buy these things, and I probably shouldn't be going out to buy these things because I might be putting others at risk. So I get up to make coffee and realize that I can't really smell or taste it. By now I'm thinking, this could be COVID. What happens now? Do I have everything I need to self-isolate? When, where, and how will I get a test? Do I know enough about COVID to care for myself at home? Who's going to walk the dog? Why am I asking you to imagine this? Because taking steps now, preparing for COVID now, will make your illness easier to bear. It might even prevent some of the worst complications. It will help keep you out of the hospital, and it will help prevent you from spreading the infection to others. The home care manual prepared by the COVID-19 SMA team last April walked you through this whole experience. I'll include a link to this manual in tomorrow's newsletter. The first few pages outline how to prepare yourself to get through COVID at home. Please read them. Please act on them. The time to prepare is now. And now to Tom.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Tom Rossiello, minister of this fellowship, and it's my privilege to be with you again this Sunday morning and to add my personal welcome to that of Dan and Gary's. We're so glad to have you here with us. This morning we began a special 6-Sunday journey that we're calling the Season of Light. Each Sunday we'll engage with one of the holidays that is celebrated at this time of year and which uses rituals of light or the symbolism of light to both celebrate and convey its message. Each week, guests and members who celebrate that particular tradition will be sharing their holidays with us, and in doing so, sharing the light of their tradition. There's so much that we can all draw and learn from the celebration of these various holidays. You know, truth is, there is no religious practice more ancient and more common than the lighting of candles and lamps and fires. No religious metaphor more universal and more frequently used than that of the light. From the burning bush and blinding light of Yahweh's face in Hebrew scripture, to calling Jesus or the Buddha the light of the world. And how often do we speak of the light of truth, or the light of wisdom, or the fire of compassion or justice? You know, it's the outward illumination that represents an inward illumination for us. Fire itself can be a symbol of the very presence of the holy, or it can be used in rituals of purification. The light that continues to burn for long-awaited events, even through tough times, is the symbol of hope. The natural world's light of the daytime sun and the nighttime stars are ways that we can navigate literally using their light as our guide. But they're also symbols of what guides us inwardly on our spiritual journey. Light coming to pierce the darkness, light representing hope and expectation, light helping us to see more clearly, light guiding us on our journey, light just marking times of celebration. Be it a candle or an oil lamp, a Yule log or a bonfire, a star in the sky, or the sun itself beginning its return journey. This symbolism of light is central to the celebration of all the holidays at this time of year. Today, we explore and celebrate Diwali, a festival of lights. And to help us do so, we are honored to welcome back the Reverend Abhi Janamanchi. He's the senior minister of the Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church in Bethesda, Maryland. He was raised in southern India and moved to the United States in 1994. Abhi is a third-generation member of a Unitarian Hindu reform movement with ties to Unitarian Universalism. He attended and graduated from Meade Bill Lombard Theological School, our UU seminary in Chicago. His Unitarian Universalist Hindu faith, his Indian heritage, and his American citizenship all inspire and guide him in his life and in his ministry. Today, we will be the beneficiaries of that rich heritage as we explore and celebrate Diwali with him. And now, as we do each week, we begin our service with that common religious practice of lighting a flame to create sacred time and place. We recognize that with a spark of the divine that is in each of us, we come together and light a common flame. The flaming chalice represents our Unitarian Universalist tradition, a tradition which welcomes and includes the light from so many other traditions. After I light our chalice, I invite you to join me in reciting the chalice lighting words for this season of light, which will appear on your screen. Candles, lamps, fire, and stars. These are the symbols of this season. Candles and lamps to mark our days of celebration and to dispel the darkness. Fires to drive away the winter chill and warm hearth and home. Stars to fill us with wonder and guide us on our sacred journey. And now, from the light of our chalice to the lights of Diwali.
Around the world, people are lighting up the sky with fireworks and dressing up their homes with colorful decor and candles. It's Diwali, the festival of lights. The word Diwali was inspired from a Sanskrit word called Deepavali, which means rows of lit lamps. And that's why Diwali is known as the Festival of Lights. The 5-day festival is celebrated every fall by Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, and some Buddhists. Hindus celebrate Diwali to rejoice Lord Ram's return home after being exiled for 14 years and defeating a king known as Ravan. Jains celebrate the festival to mark the spiritual awakening of their Lord Mahavira. Sikhs celebrate Diwali to commemorate their spiritual leader Guru Har Gobind's return to Amritsar, a city in northern India, after being imprisoned. And some Buddhists celebrate the festival to honor their emperor Ashoka's decision to follow a path of peace and converting to Buddhism, after witnessing a lot of killings. Although these 4 religions have different reasons for celebrating Diwali, what they all have in common is the concept of new beginnings, light over darkness, and good over evil. Diwali is celebrated with prayers, fireworks, candles lit inside of clay pots, rangolis, which are colored patterns drawn on the ground with colored rice or powder, and it's also a good reason to invite friends and family over for a big meal.
Rabindranath Tagore was a Bengali poet, musician, and philosopher. He was the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. With 3 hymns and 4 readings by him in our hymnal, we recognize how well his thoughts find a home in our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It's so appropriate that we continue our observance of Diwali by singing his words. Please join in hymn number 197. There are numerous strings in your lute. The words will appear on your screen shortly.
There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Then when you smite your chords, my heart will break its silence, and my heart will be one with your song. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Amidst your numberless stars, let me place my own little lamp. Amidst your numberless stars, let in your lute. Let me add my own among them. In the dance of your festival of light, my heart will throb and my life will be one with your smile. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them.
Please join us in reciting our spoken covenant, which should appear on your screen. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
We now enter into a very sacred time in our service, a time when members and friends share the significant joys, sorrows, and concerns that they are now experiencing with their community. If you would like to have a joy, sorrow, or concern shared in a future service, please email it to me and I will do so. If you have something to share this morning that you have not yet sent in, you may do so now in chat. We light our first candle this morning, reaching out to Lydia Jane Thailing. She's asked me to inform you that she has been diagnosed with liver cancer. She is under the care of her primary care physician here in San Miguel and an oncologist in Querétaro. A treatment plan has been proposed and will be implemented forthwith. Lydia Jane is not in pain nor incapacitated, is in good spirits, and looking forward to a positive outcome with the loving support of this community. She's not currently in need of any particular support, but will advise should that situation change. Meanwhile, send lots of smiles and hearty good wishes in her direction, and she wishes to remind us, always look on the bright side of life. This second candle is a candle of joy, and it's lit by Marlis Hahn, who writes, after falling and breaking my femur and having surgery on October 1st, I've been recovering in my little apartment and garden. My joy is that I can now walk. In addition to my excellent PT, I'm now able to resume some gentle yoga and walking out with the accompaniment of Francoise to Thanksgiving dinner at La Frontera with friendly yuyus. Yahoo! We, of course, once again light a candle for all those affected by COVID, for the healthcare workers who are exhausted, and their patients and all those ill with the virus, for those depressed from isolation, especially those in nursing homes and other elder facilities, and for all those lost to this disease and their loved ones who mourn them, we light this candle. This is a happy birthday candle for Diego, who turns 30 years old tomorrow. Happy birthday, Diego. And another candle of joy. We are indeed thrilled to have so many new members and friends joining us, not just for our services, but for all sorts of fellowship activities. We can't welcome you in person in the way we once used to do when we were meeting at the Aldea, but we would like to recognize your presence among us today. If you are new or relatively new to the fellowship, maybe just started coming since we went virtual on Zoom, please go ahead and type your name and where you're from into the chat now as I light this candle of welcome to all of you. And I now light a final candle. All those joy, sorrows, and concerns held deep in our hearts, but which remain unspoken this morning. And now we go to Abhi, who will guide us in a time of meditation.
Thank you, Tom. Let us hold in our hearts and send healing wishes to Lydia Jain and Shoshana, and hold in memory and mourning Mona Kumar, and offer our hearty congratulations to Diego on his 30th birthday. Holding all these joys and sorrows and those that we continue to hold close to our hearts, I invite you to let yourself sit quietly and at ease. Allow your body to be relaxed and open and your heart soft. Let yourself be in this moment. Be gentle with yourself. Let go of any plans or preoccupations, any to-do lists, tasks at hand. For now, be with yourself. Begin with yourself. Allow your eyes to close or keep them open with a softened gaze. And begin by taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. With each breath, try to soften and release whatever tension or anxiety or concern you might be gripping and holding. Allow yourself to settle into that space within, place of honesty and silence, courage and compassion. Keep breathing. And with each breath, I invite you to recite the ancient syllable Om. And as you chant Om, I invite you to imagine that you're lighting a lamp within. I invite you to see the light, to feel its glow, to feel its warmth, and keep repeating Om. And now let your inner light radiate from within your being out into your home, into your community, and hold in the light those among us who are mourning a loss, dealing with health concerns, celebrating a milestone birthday. Remember the many loved ones we have lost in this pandemic, the many millions who have been infected, who are at risk, who are risking their lives serving others, and those who are working to find a cure. Hold them in the light and extend your loving kindness to people around you, among you, people everywhere. And keep repeating Om. We are all born of the same light, yours and mine. And when we gather together, we burn brightly. Together, we bless the world. May it be so. Amen.
We who are fortunate to live or spend time here in San Miguel can sometimes forget that we are surrounded by many people less fortunate than us, people who live in poverty. This fellowship invests much time and money to help make a difference in our community. We support scholarships for promising students, food programs, children's health services, plus support returning deported Mexican nationals and migrants from Central America in search of a better life. This year has been especially difficult for so many people who have lost jobs, and our fellowship has been there for our community with a special food drive. Our fellowship gives and has been giving at least 50% of our receipts to organizations that serve our local community. With the remainder, we pay for the expenses of running our fellowship. The expenses of these services and other fellowship activities are not fully paid for by membership pledges. We also depend upon weekly donations. Although we are not currently meeting in person, our operating expenses continue, including expenses for conducting Zoom services, and we continue to support local organizations during this pandemic. We support our minister position to help guide us to an even higher platform for sharing open and inspiring Sunday services, working for social justice, and expressing our love. Yet, now that we are not currently meeting in person, our weekly donations have declined. The holiday season is a time for charitable giving, when many people make special year-end donations. So, during the upcoming 90-second pause, or immediately after our service, please go to our donate link, which you can find in the chat box, or at our website, UUFSMA.org. You may use PayPal or any credit or debit card to donate any amount. You may indicate in the notes section if you want your donation to go toward our minister's discretionary fund, or you may just leave it blank to help meet the expenses of Sunday services like this one, as well as supporting those in need in our community. Thank you so much for your generosity in helping to support our fellowship and the needs of our surrounding community. After the upcoming 90-second pause for donating, we'll go to another classical dance video, this one celebrating Mahalakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity and the mother of the universe. I'm done.
Mahalakshmiashtakam Stotram is a hymn in praise of Goddess Mahalakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. In this hymn, she is described as the primordial energy and the mother of the universe.
Namaste. महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते स्थूल सूक्ष्म महारौद्रे महाशक्ति महोदरे स्थूल सूक्ष्म महारौद्रे महाशक्ति महोदरे महापाप हरे देवी महापाप हरे देवी महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते पद्मासनस्थिते देवी परब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी पद्मासनस्थिते देवी परब्रह्मस्वरूपिणी परमेशि जगन्मातर परमेशि जगन्मातर महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते श्वेताम्बरधरे देवी ननालङ्कारभूषिते श्वेताम्बरधरे देवी ननालङ्कारभूषिते जगस्थिते जगन्माता जगस्थिते जगन्माता महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते महालक्ष्म्यष्टकं स्तोत्रम् यः पठेत् भक्तिमाकरः सर्वसिद्धिमवाप्नोति सर्वसिद्धिमवाप्नोति राज्यं प्राप्नोति सर्वदा राज्यं प्राप्नोति सर्वदा राज्यं प्राप्नोति सर्वदा राज्यं प्राप्नोति सर्वदा एककाले पठे नित्यं महापापविनाशकम् एककाले पठे नित्यं महापापविनाशकम् विकालं यः पठे नित्यं धनधान्यसमन्वितम् विकालं यः पठे नित्यं धनधान्यसमन्वितम् विकालं यः पठे नित्यं महाशत्रुविनाशकम् विकालं यः पठे नित्यं महाशत्रुविनाशकम् महालक्ष्मीर्भवे नित्यं महालक्ष्मीर्भवे नित्यं प्रसन्ना वरदा शुभा प्रसन्ना वरदा शुभा प्रसन्ना वरदा शुभा प्रसन्ना वरदा शुभा
I'd like to thank my friend Lakshmi Swaminathan and her students from the Natnanjali School of Dance for those two beautiful dance items that speak to the deities Krishna and Mahalakshmi, both who are honored and worshipped during Diwali. And thank you for inviting me to be with you again. It is wonderful to join you this beautiful day and celebrate and worship with you as you begin this season of exploration of light, as it is honored and celebrated in various religious traditions. With the arrival of the winter's low, dark sky, communities around the world look to the miracle of light as a sign of rebirth and a source of hope. And a common thread woven through many winter holiday traditions and stories, as Tom mentioned, is the presence of light, be it the light of a lamp or a candle or a star or a bonfire or a Yule log, the light of love, of life, of God. And today we explore the concept of Atman, or the divine inner light in the Hindu tradition, through Diwali, the festival of lights. Now, Diwali, as you heard in the introductory video, is one of the most popular and widely celebrated festivals by Hindus, Jains, Sikhs, Buddhists, and the festive spirit expressed by those of any, all, and no religious affiliation in India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, the US, Canada, and around the world. Now, Diwali, the word comes from the Sanskrit words Deepavali, which literally means a row of lights. Deepa meaning light, and Avali meaning row or series. This refers to the most prominent feature of this festival, which is the displaying of rows of illuminated lamps from homes, temples, and other buildings in order to symbolize the triumph of good over evil, of hope over despair, of peace over anxiety, of humanity over hubris, and of love over fear. Now, if it feels like the election victory that we had a few weeks ago, that analogy is a good one to hold as well. But Diwali is usually celebrated over a 5-day period, with the most important day being the third day. And this central day falls on a new moon day, the 8th month in the Hindu calendar, which is a lunar calendar. And this usually occurs in late October or early to mid-November. This year, we celebrated Diwali on November 14th. Now, for most Hindus, Diwali marks the beginning of the new year. Symbolically, it is a new start in all aspects of life, including relationships with family and friends. So it is a time for community and family celebration with prayers through puja, of togetherness, of sharing all resources of food and gifts. Now, in the Jain tradition, as we heard earlier, Diwali marks the nirvana, or the spiritual awakening of Lord Mahavira. And in the Sikh tradition, Sikhs believe that it was on Diwali day that their sixth Guru, Guru Har Gobind, was freed from imprisonment. Known as Bandichor Divas, the Diwali story for the Sikh community is that of their struggle for liberation. Also, the foundation stone for the Golden Temple in Amritsar was laid on Diwali. And Buddhists in India and Nepal honor Emperor Ashoka, who on this day took to the vow of nonviolence, a key Vedic principle which became an integral part of the Buddha's teachings. Like many Hindu festivals, there isn't just one reason to celebrate Diwali. This ancient celebration is linked to multiple stories in religious texts. Universally, of course, the trope that is lifted up is the triumph of good over evil, of light over darkness. Northern India celebrates the story of King Rama's return to Ayodhya with his spouse Sita and brother Lakshmana after defeating King Ravana by lighting rows of clay lamps so that they could find their way home again. In South India, the festival is celebrated as the day when Lord Krishna and his wife Satyabhama together defeated the demon Narakasura. And many Hindus also celebrate Diwali by honoring goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance and prosperity, which we saw and experienced in that beautiful dance earlier, to seek her blessings to restart our worldly and spiritual accounting. And prayers of thankfulness are offered for the future prosperity by people of all faiths on Diwali. But while the story behind Diwali varies from region to region, the essence is the same: to reawaken to and rejoice in the inner light and understand the underlying reality of all things. At the heart, Hindu philosophy emphasizes the presence of the inner light, the Atman within every living being, which is pure, infinite, and eternal, which is something beyond body and mind. Although it is not seen externally, this inner light outshines all shadows, removes all obstacles, and dispels all ignorance. It awakens the individual to one's true nature, not as the body, but as the unchanging, infinite, immanent, and transcendent reality. And with this inner realization comes universal compassion, love, and the awareness of the oneness of all things, and the opportunity to live into being Sat Chit Ananda, truth, consciousness, joy. For Hindus, this is the goal of life. Hence, on the night of Diwali, people light small oil lamps, place the lamps around homes, stores, and streets, and pray for good health, knowledge, prosperity, peace, and fulfillment in the new year. Now, the lamps are symmetrically arranged in rows and patterns by doorways, windowsills, steps, walls, and terraces. And while children are free to playfully arrange and rearrange these lights, there are some basic requirements. In every home, one is required to place a light at the threshold of the house, the space where the outside meets the inside, to symbolize the space where the inner self meets the outer self, the world. The simplicity of a tiny light shining from the threshold is a powerful symbol of the meaning and call of Diwali, the divine spark that resides within each of us that drives away ignorance, fear, hatred, violence, and instills in us knowledge, courage, love, and peace. Now, this light is present equally in everyone, enlivening all bodies and minds. And so the purpose of life in the Hindu tradition is to realize this truth and to embody it in our lives. It is this realization that can free us from fear, selfishness, and greed, and bless us with peace, self-acceptance, and joy. Now, one of the great temptations of this religious wisdom and awakening is its privatization. To savor the peace that is within, some believe that they must close the doors of their homes and turn away from the world. From that perspective, religion is seen as an inward turning marked by indifference to the world and its concerns. And people regard God and the world, the inner and the outer, the home and the public space, as somehow mutually exclusive to each other. It is assumed that to grow close to one is to grow further from the other. And turn to the world is to turn away from God. To look within, we must cease to look outward. And religious privatization is often associated with the negativity of the world being represented as a place of evil and suffering, and liberation being equated with escape from the world. Now, while it is tempting to shut ourselves away from all the suffering and the pain we see and encounter in the world in order to find that inner peace, the light at the threshold of the home on the night of Diwali reminds us that our awakening to the inner light is incomplete if it does not radiate from within us to dispel the shadows of the outside world. A knowledge of the divine light within that does not shine outward in service of a life larger than our own is selfish, deficient, and anemic. Now, if the light at the threshold reminds us that the inner light must radiate outwards, it also reminds us that we must first awake to the light within. We cannot do much good in the world outside if our own hearts are stuck in the shadows of ignorance, greed, and hate. And lost in shadow, we will only contribute to the world's suffering and not help in its overcoming. So the light that shines out must also shine within. So the Hindu way of life reminds us that the shadows that surround us that are to be dispelled are real, that they're not abstract. It is here, it is now, and it is present in our own communities. And these shadows take the form in all the social, cultural, economic, political, and religious structures that devalue people and that are sources of suffering. So we live in the shadows when we condone or practice racism, homophobia, misogyny, transphobia, ableism, xenophobia, and recklessly exploit nature. These are the demons, the negative forces against which the light on the threshold must shine brightly. The Hindu way of life is based on the pluralistic acceptance of spirituality as embodied in the oft-repeated saying from the Rig Veda, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadhanti. Truth is one, the wise ones call it by different names. Now in the US, this idea is exemplified in our national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one, which also informs and enlivens our Unitarian Universalist faith. To paraphrase the late Reverend Forrest Church, our Unitarian heritage points to the existence of one reality, one truth, one light, which shines through countless windows, each of which reveals a portion of that light. One light, Unitarianism, shining through many windows, Universalism. And the heart is the place where we keep that which we treasure the most. So what might it mean to make our hearts a temple? Perhaps it means to live our lives in a way that expresses our devotion, not just in religious ritual, but in every word we speak, every action we perform, and every intention we put out. Love of God, we are told, manifests in the world as compassion. So this is the challenge, friends. This year, as we go through the festive observances of light and turn to thoughts of the new year ahead, as the superficial and ephemeral aspects of the holiday season start to fade away, can we commit ourselves to this exchange of lamps? Can we let Diwali and other festivals of light provide illumination for us, especially in these challenging, turbulent times where we yearn for truth and kindness and wisdom? Can we make everything we put out into the world an offering of devotion, an invitation to divinity to reside in our hearts? And can we take the time to be still and quiet and present enough to see and hear the divinity when it dwells there? So may we open our doors to allow the light of our homes to enter the world. May we commit to journey together in unity while affirming our diversity. May we commit to be a circle of life manifesting the solidarity that will savor, save, and serve life. And may we shine forth with the divine spirit that is within us, among us, and all around us. For this broken and beautiful world of ours needs all the light we have to bring and share. Go shining. May it be so. I now invite us to join together in singing hymn number 187, It Sounds Along the Ages. The words will appear on screen shortly.
Thank you all for being with us this morning. And Abhi, thank you for your wonderful message and for sharing Diwali with us. On behalf of this congregation, I wish you and your family and your Cedar Lane congregation a wonderful celebration of all the holidays that you may observe in this rich season of light. Next week, I will be sharing my thoughts on the light of Advent with you. We will engage in the stories and practices from this tradition, as well as some of its most beautiful music. I hope you'll be with us again, and please do invite friends or family who you think would enjoy and appreciate this community and the message of this liberal faith to be with us as well. Finally, to those of you who are new or relatively new to this fellowship, as Dan mentioned earlier, we have a special invitation for you this morning. At the end of this service, I'd love to have you join me and Chris Chase and Donna Sherbrooks for a special virtual little gathering of newcomers. So at the end of the service, when the option to go into breakout rooms appears, don't do it. Just stay put, and you will instead be placed in a group with the three of us and other newcomers for a while. And I look forward to seeing you and meeting you if I haven't already. And now, may the blessings of the light of this season, the light of Diwali, bring you hope, inner peace, and great joy. Diwali reminds us that life, as it should be lived, is a life full of inner joy, which manifests itself in celebration.
Whatever you call as joy, whatever you know as happiness, did the joy rain upon you or did it blossom within and find an external expression? Which way was it? It always came from within, isn't it so? Have you noticed at a certain moment when you're very happy, just walking is celebration? Do you see every step that you take, every breath that you take is celebration? So the question is not about what you're drinking, what you're eating, what kind of atmosphere you're in. You're joyful. It's the inner atmosphere which decides the celebration, not the external. If you're happy, life is celebration, isn't it? That's how it should be.
We extinguish the flame, but not the light. Not the light of our chalice, not the light of this season, not the light of Diwali and the many other celebrations that mark this time of year. That light we carry with us to banish our inner darkness, to lift our spirits and light our way.